Zaz, you really are a voice of the fan during the game. Like, you just complain about the Dolphins on the internet in the way that I feel like if the Dolphin fan had one voice, it would sound a bit like you.
I don't enjoy that, though. Like, I don't like being that guy. I'm not like that during Panther games. I'm not like that during Heat games. I don't like what the Dolphins do to me.
Well, what's happening there? You haven't been like that during Heat games? You care about the Heat and the Panthers more than you care about the Dolphins,
I
don't you?
I do, but I'm more inclined to take I'm a pretty positive dude. Like, I'm more inclined to take the positive angle when it comes to the Heat and the Panthers. So I don't like that the Dolphins do this to me and make me feel this way. I don't like sitting here and telling you Tua sucks. You know, like that doesn't bring me any kind of joy. I don't like being that guy.
But you are that guy.
I am that guy.
And you're not accountable about it. You blame the Dolphins for making you this person.
What, should I blame myself for making me this person?
I mean, you're reasonable and you have perspective about the Panthers and the Heat, even though you called Paul Maurice the murderer of fun when he got here.
Yeah, but did he not murder our fun for most of that season? I was right until I was wrong. Can we admit that?
That is, you can put that on basically any sports radio host tombstone.
I mean, parents murder fun when, like, you got to eat vegetables.
That's right.
Even though it's good for you. That's what Paul Maurice did. He did what was best for the situation. And in the end, there was fun. But on the way up, there was no fun.
Yeah, it was growing pains.
Yeah.
I didn't know it at the time, but he was right.
Mm-hmm.
And I got no problem admitting that.
How great is that? To be able to admit this. To be able to say, I was wrong about something.
I have no problem admitting when I'm wrong.
I love that about you.
Especially, thank you. I love that about me too, actually. I've evolved.
The thing about what you're saying, though, is you can admit you're wrong when you're the two-time defending Stanley Cup champion. That's a pretty high bar to get you to admit that you're wrong. And you're wrong in a way that's so spectacular that you put the butt right in the middle of rebuttal.
No.
How crazy. If you would have, talked to me as I was lying sprawled on the grass outside of the former Orange Bowl, presently Marlins Park, after Butch Davis and FIU defeat Jaron Williams, who, let's just say, was a little off for reasons that I know but won't talk about. If you would have told me several years after that Miami would be hosting College Game Day and a Florida Panther would be the game day picker, I would have said there's no way we can actually climb that mountain. It's too high for both the Miami Hurricanes and hockey. I would say it'd be more likely that the Florida Panthers were playing in Hamilton.
I know no one's going to agree with this. Kind of a lame game day picker.
Get the hell out of here.
Kiss my ass.
It's a lame game.
Kiss Roy's ass.
I know exactly why they're doing this, and I will tell you after the break.
Matthew Tkachuk. Matthew Tkachuk is a bad pick. That show has gone down to the standard of Stugotz has done the guest picking. You're going to say Tkachuk is a bad pick?
It's close to the same level, honestly.
He's giving his body for this city.
Football is back, Jack. Oh my, we've waited for so long. We're so damn excited that we put it in a song. Don't need no check downs. Give me big hits and quarterbacks. Keep your fantasy team from falling off the track. Football is back, Jack. Whether on the ground or through the air, when the chips are down and you throw a prayer, when your team is primed and on the hunt, it's 4th and 10, you refuse to punt. When the shoulder pads and helmets crack, that's how you know that football is back, Jack. Let me hear you say, football is back, Jack. This high is wild and out of control, and we're gonna ride it every week till we reach the Super Bowl. Don't need no check downs. Give me big hits and quarterbacks. If you say this game's the best, I'll say it's a gag. Football is back, Jack. Football is back, Jack.
The fatal flaw in this Miami Dolphins team and organization is that is the best game that team can play. That is the most careful, the best on third and fourth down that team can be. They are trying to work around their limits, and they lose by 10 points against the Bills. And frankly, I've got to be honest, I thought I was watching religious miracles every time the defense made a stop in the second half, because I thought the whole game was going to go the way that the first half went, where James Cook is just running for 9 yards every time they hand him the football.
They almost had 3 straight forced punts.
I was stunned that they got the stops. I was stunned that they were in the game. You cannot blame that game on McDaniel. Many people will blame it on Zach Sealer or Tua. Those are the two people they're going to blame.
Seemed like McDaniel blamed Tua.
I'm not going to blame Zach Sealer for a couple of different reasons, okay? I thought the only way they could win that game is if they got turnovers or special teams explosion plays, and Zach Sealer was trying to make a play as somebody who you actually trust on the Dolphins, even though this was an amazing stat going into the game. The Dolphins were the only team in the league going into that game that had not had a single pressure from an interior defensive lineman. Not one in the first 2 games of the season against offenses that weren't the one that they faced last night. I want to give you guys a series of stats, though, and ask you which one you think is the most interesting or wish to talk about, okay? In one-score games with 5 minutes left, Tua has 7 touchdowns, 7 interceptions, and a quarterback rating a little bit over 70. The Dolphins have now lost 14 of 17, and 8 in a row against teams with a winning record. Last night, Tua threw as many passes behind the line of scrimmage as he did in front of the line of scrimmage. And that was both quarterbacks last night, because you want to guess, as take a guess at what the average air yards per completion was last night for both quarterbacks. Both quarterbacks combined, take a guess, average air yards every football throw.
Definitely pathetic. Something low.
I don't think you know how pathetic. Guess as low as you want to guess. I think you're going to get it wrong, even as I'm telling you, guess on the extreme low.
Definitely pathetic, so I'm going to go 4 yards.
1.4 yards per completion.
So pathetic.
Late in the third or fourth, Tua was at -5. That's bad. So, I mean, but Tyreek also had a ball hit both of his hands, like 40 yards down the field that he just dropped.
Yeah.
I'm worried about Tyreek Hill.
You need a play there. I'm worried about the Dolphin offense for a number of different reasons, okay? Because you mentioned the Tyreek Hill play. There were 2 things said last night during the game that made me laugh. I was watching that game alone. I rarely laugh.
You have any Dolphin friends?
Yeah.
I have Dolphin friends, but I wanted to watch that game alone.
Did you tell Valerie get out of the room?
Valerie went to a concert at the Hard Rock last night for her brother's birthday.
Who was it?
The band, what is it? Cage and the Elephant?
Cage the Elephant.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I don't know the name of the band. I came close. Mike is laughing at me for not knowing Cage the Elephant.
No, he's laughing at me because I actually know that band. Yeah, that's impressive. Cage and the Elephant sounds like something a black market arms dealer would find himself in that situation.
It sounds like a Nicolas Cage movie, too. So I want to, though, because you're right. Hill dropped it was a 50-yard pass, and it was one of the few thrown down the field, and it would have changed that stat I just gave you, because they made Josh Allen into something last night that Patrick Mahomes has become, which is, you're going to take away my entertainment too. They're going to score 31 points, but it's not going to be fun to watch them score the 31 points. But 2 stats they gave. Al Michaels said Tyreek Hill having a big game, and then gave the stats. 5 catches for 46 yards, which used to be a catch for him back in the glory days of the Dolphins 2 years ago. But this was the funniest stat. The funniest stat was when he says, and Tua gets to 100 yards on the night. He's been very solid tonight, very good with his decision-making on his 26th attempt of the evening. This was deep in the fourth quarter when Tua got to 100 yards. The Dolphins played a game that was close. That surprised us. But I really did think the beginning of the game was how the whole game was going to go, where Mike McDaniel was going to get fired in the third quarter because they just kept handing the ball to James Cook, and he got a first. He put him in 2nd and 1 every time he carried the football.
It was chunk yards every play for
The Dolphins
Buffalo.
were leading at the beginning of the game. It was 7-0. They went right down the field.
I know, but the Bills hadn't touched the football yet, and I believe that the thing that's going to nuke this entire Dolphin season isn't the offense. I believe it's going to be the defense. I don't believe they're going to be able. The second half is the first time they've stopped anybody all season.
They do historically play the Bills tight under Mike McDaniel. They just never beat the Bills, and that was apparent yesterday. Mike McDaniel initially blamed Tua for the interception. Quarterback has to take the responsibility there, but we all have to be better. Kind of softened it and knew what he was saying as it was happening.
It's a couple weeks in a row that he's pulled that move.
Yeah, there's a couple encouraging things for Tua. We said when you made the point, like, this guy doesn't make things happen. There were a couple of instances there where he made things happen with his legs, rolled out, found Tyreek Hill. So that was encouraging, but just a back-breaking interception with your season on the line, you just can't do that. I don't think this guy's good. It's 6 years in. I think I'm ready to make a judgment call, and I also have to take into account the head injuries, the hip injury. I just don't think that this is a franchise quarterback.
That's the part I have a problem with, is what you said there, and Greg said that at the beginning of the week as well when we're talking about there were encouraging signs from Tua. He's in year 6. Like, what are we talking about? Like, we're still growing. This was encouraging that he did. He's in year 6. What are we talking about?
I think it's actually been a discouraging season for Tua. I don't think this looks like the same guy that they gave the contract to. And even then, there were questions as to whether or not he was deserving of that contract and was a franchise quarterback. He seems to have regressed. And maybe it's Tua, maybe it's Tyreek Hill, maybe it's the play calling. I don't know. But even when that pass that Tyreek Hill dropped that hit him in both hands, he was double covered, and Tua just heaved that up there, hoping that something miraculous would happen. With Tyreek and Tua, you don't see Tyreek getting behind the cornerbacks or the safeties anymore, and he just has to lob it over their heads. Every long pass he's had to Tyreek has either been underthrown or the defenders are right there with Tyreek.
The one long completion this year was severely underthrown.
Yeah, it's just the two of them are not what they were clearly 2 years ago when this offense was clicking on all cylinders.
They were on the game-tying touchdown at the end of the game where he threw the ball before Tyreek Hill made his break. The play you're talking about, the 50-yard play, you need Tyreek Hill to make that play because you're paying him to be neighbors. Like, whether you're covered or not, if you're the only one touching the ball, whether you're double covered or not, you were in position to make that play, and it went through your hands. Easy for me to say. I understand that that's, it's not the easiest catch, but when you look at Tyreek Hill and what you're expecting from him and Tua, your highest paid players have to make the game-winning plays. And you guys don't disagree with the assessment, do you? That's the best that this Dolphins team, that's the best that it can play. And when you say there's something wrong with Tua, maybe there is, okay, but I thought Waddle was a number one receiver or on his way to becoming a number one receiver a couple of years ago. I thought that Tyreek Hill and Waddle, those statistical games that they had for the game, that was a quarter a couple of years ago. What they did for the game was 1 quarter of Dolphin football a couple of years ago. So when we talk about Tua, you guys disagree when I say, hey, that's the best they can be on 3rd and 4th down. If you think you're going to get 16-play drives that keep Josh Allen off the field, like that was a well-coached football game last night. And I want to talk again about the Zach Sealer play because I understand it's very easy to criticize the result there. And you can't have that as the result. It's 4th and 7. You can't have a roughing the kicker. Zach Sealer blew up the long snapper, just exploded through the long snapper and thought he was going to be able to make a play on a blocked punt. And people forget because they're outraged by the stupidity or what they think is the stupidity of trying your very best to make a hustle play, that the Bills downed that ball at the 1-yard line. You felt real good about Tua going down the field from his own end zone there?
I think you like that better than they scored a touchdown
Agreed.
And now you're trailing.
Agreed.
Like, granted, it's not the ideal starting spot, but yeah, you'd take that over giving up a touchdown and starting at the 20.
Agreed, but I'm not going to criticize one of their best and most solid players for blowing up the
That's
long
a bullshit
snapper.
call, honestly. Like, he did not go with intent. He didn't wrap him and drive
He's just
him
big.
to the ground.
He's just big.
Like, the kicker fell on him. He touched his foot a little bit, and then he fell on him. It was a little flop situation. Like, then you get into the whole thing, which is this kicker interference? Is this roughing the kicker? If it was called one, then it'd still be fourth down because they wouldn't have got enough yards, and then it's because it's the other. It's an automatic first down. Like, it's a ticky-tacky call. I mean, look, the Dolphins shouldn't have been in that game anyways. They were favored, or they were going to lose by 12.5 points is what the line was. So the fact that they were that close, it was a tie game when that call happened, it did swing the momentum of the game. They did get the ball back, and then Tua threw an interception, which is what cost them the game, but it shouldn't have come down to that.
You guys mentioned the interception, and I know that when it happened, we're all like, "Oh my God, how could you do that?"
How could you do that? How could you not do it? Who didn't see that coming?
Well, that throw, I know that people expected the worst because of what they've seen late in games from the Dolphins. But throwing a ball straight to a linebacker you didn't see 4 yards down the field, the reason that happened is because the offensive lineman, the center, just whiffed on the block. And so that's pressure right up the middle. He was getting rid of the ball in 2 seconds because he had to, and that's how the mistake got made. I know we're going to blame Tua on that, but there aren't a lot of quarterbacks who are going to have much of a chance if they can't be mobile, if they can't run away from pressure, untouched pressure right up the middle. Not a lot of quarterbacks are going to make a good throw there.
So Tua yesterday, when I checked it, which was like in the third quarter, because I've been curious about this all season long. Tua, the past couple seasons, has had the fastest time between when he receives the ball and he throws the ball. And those quick decisions has been kind of the difference in why things are moving so fast, because that's how they get all the yards, right? It seems as though he's had more time to throw the ball this season, and it has had a negative effect because then he starts looking at different options, and it could be the number one option is covered or whatever. But it seems like the more time Tua has, the worse the results have been. And yesterday he had the ball longer than Josh Allen did at the beginning, or at least through the third quarter. He had it like 3 seconds before he was making the passes. So then he starts looking around, and then that's when you can go back to week 1 after the Steelers game where they were saying, you know what, if you take away his first look, he panics and he starts making bad decisions. That could be what's going on, is he's not snapping it out right away, which the past couple seasons he's been the fastest to get the ball and pass it.
This is what I was talking about, I think, yesterday, where he's not capable of making the special plays, making the improvisational plays. And more to your point there, if everything is not put on the table for him to perfection where, hey, this is your first option, this is where we'd really like you to go, and if it's not there, all right, you go through your progressions. He doesn't seem to be good at that part. If everything is not laid out in front of him right away, and then he has to make the extra decisions, he doesn't seem to be good at it.
I don't think that's fair criticism off of last night.
No, I'm not looking at it just in the context
I
of
know,
last night.
but what happened last night in the fourth quarter, he put you in a position to win the game because that 16-play drive had those plays in it, and that's as good as that offense can be. They can't do it in 1 or 2 plays anymore. It's got to be 16. If he's going to throw as many passes behind the line of scrimmage as ahead of the line of scrimmage?
How did we get there?
That was crazy.
How did we get there?
Swing passes to the flats, and how poor the execution was. I thought Ingold was a good player. I mean, he can't win a one-on-one blocking assignment anymore.
If he did, that play that you're talking about, which is throwing it to Achane 7 yards behind the line of scrimmage, if Ingold had made a block there, that's a 30-yard play.
It happened a couple of times where, there's 1 or 2 guys and you either need a combination of Achane making a play and Ingold making a block, or just Ingold making a block or Achane making a play. It just was stifled pretty much all game long, with the exception of a 15-yard swing route. Like, it was bad. It was painful to watch.
It was painful to watch. It was screen after screen after screen. I just don't understand. You pay the quarterback, he's getting $55 million a year, and that's the offense? How did we get here?
I'm not seeing what they're seeing.
Right, it's hard because we're watching on TV and you can't see down the field.
I don't have the old 22. Alan Kirk is saying that there's nothing available in the middle of the field. But this is where your high-priced quarterback makes the plays with his feet. And there were a couple of signs there. But then you look across the other sideline and you realize, well, when there's nothing, because both quarterbacks were dealing with this, as Dan pointed out, You know Josh Allen is going to make the plays consistently. And for Tua, it seems like an outlier.
And after, like, let's just use that as an example, after the Sealer penalty, tie game, mid-fourth quarter, Josh Allen doesn't throw the interception. And if we want to, like, you could blame Sealer, it was a huge penalty. We could talk about whatever we want there. But I think it's fair criticism. Can the quarterback who's paid $200 million make a game-winning drive in a big spot for once? We could say that the center didn't do what he was supposed to do on that play, and it led to the interception and the linebacker picked it off. Like, okay, but how about every other game that he can't seem to lead a game-winning drive against a good team? Dan, you started the show giving up the numbers where the Dolphins never beat good teams. It's fair criticism to say, hey, there are all these other things that are going on wrong this game, but we need you to win us the game. When is that going to happen?
The weird thing is on that last drive where he threw the interception, it wasn't as many of the behind the line of scrimmage screen passes. Like, they were actually trying to move the ball down the field, 6-7 yard passes, but it wasn't that screen pass that wasn't effective. There was also a bunch of like 3-and-outs that happened where it was just 3 straight passing yards, 3 straight screen passes, or one like 3rd and 10, and let me try to throw it 12 yards here, where when they were bringing in Ollie Gordon, they were trying to run the ball. They were having more success, I think, than they thought they were going to have, and that's where the drives were starting, where they were involving the run game. I don't know why they keep doing the screen passes every single time.
A long time ago, Jimmy Johnson, Super Bowl Cowboys, was asked, why don't you guys do more screen passes with Emmitt Smith and stuff in your offensive line? And he stared at the reporter and just said, we're not good at it. So that's your explanation. Like, they're not playing that way for any other reason,
but
that they're
the
trying to
drive,
protect their flaws and be safe and be careful.
But the last drive, they were effective not doing that. Like, they've become too reliant on let's throw it to Achane and hope he makes a 40-yard play out of a negative 5-yard pass.
Agreed.
The opposite is happening. McDaniel on the offense, clearly, and from what we've seen from Achane, good receiving back, like, they are supposed to be good at it. Buffalo was all over it, and like Xavier Howard said, when you take away the first option, what do you got? Munson.
It also screws them on, it's 1st and 10. You try the first play of the drive to do a screen pass. There's a blown coverage, and now it's 2nd and 17. And now it's an uphill battle, and how do you get out of that?
Well, they did get out of it. They had a 2nd and 3rd and 17
a couple
on
times
that
they got
drive.
out of it, but there was other 3-and-outs where they couldn't get out
I
of
don't
it.
even like this team, and I sound pissy.
I'm gonna say again that I believe that that's the best this Dolphins team can play, and losing to the Bills that way is no shame. Listen to some of these stats, okay? The Bills through 3 games this season. 3-0 record, 100-plus points scored, 0 turnovers, fewer than 15 penalties, more than 150 rushing yards a game, and more than 250 net passing yards a game. Never in NFL history has any team ever done that over a 3-game span. Never. It's never happened before. You actually neutralize the MVP of the league. The idea that I'm in here today and
to 3 passing touchdowns.
I mean, come on.
Well,
Let's be honest.
Look, all right, Billy.
They're looking forward to 10 days off.
All right,
Come on.
Billy.
They're walking through that one. I got a text during the game from them that said, Josh Allen just looks bored
He's
today.
got a broken nose, wearing a visor for the first time. How many flip passes did he try?
Oh, my God, that guy.
Josh was literally joshing out there.
Yeah.
Josh Allen, regular season against the Dolphins, 13-2. 8-0 at home, 45 total touchdowns, 8 interceptions. But I gave you the stat earlier, and I'm just stunned by it. Next-gen stats. Josh Allen and Tua combined to average 1.5 air yards per completion, lowest mark in a game since 2016. So your eyes aren't deceiving you. That's the most boring offensive game throwing the football down the field in 10 years.
It was so boring.
Yeah, but it was by design, I think, by the Bills. You think the Bills are what? They're scared of the Dolphins secondary? You think if Josh Allen got the ball down 3 from his 20-yard line, he wasn't going to be airing it out downfield, cutting up the Dolphins?
Secondary did make plays, I will say.
You think it was by design? Yeah, that throw to Kincaid.
It was a crazy throw.
Kincaid should have had 3 touchdowns
Better
last
defensive
night.
play.
Tony's parlay from God hit.
I know. I woke up to that. That was great.
You played it?
Of course. When you get a parlay from God, you play it.
Allen attempted only 1 pass over 10 yards in the air. Like, that's not how he plays.
And you
Was
think
it
that wasn't designed for him to not make a pass?
It was that Kincaid pass? That was the only attempt?
He only had 10 air yards. Like I said, Tua completed as many passes behind the line of scrimmage as passed it, but Allen attempted only one pass over 10 air yards. That's nuts.
Is it not possible that Josh Allen got to the building at the beginning of the week and said, guys, we're playing the Dolphins. Like, what's the least amount of work I can do?
Let's just work on
My
stuff.
nose is jacked up. Like, let's make this an easy week.
I don't like
Guys,
this visor.
it was
This is
tied
dumb.
with 7 minutes left in
But
the
it
fourth
wasn't.
They're
quarter.
playing with their food.
Come on.
They were in control.
They,
And they were playing to
This was the Bills' plan to get Zach Sealer on a 4th and 7 to rough their punter. That was the plan
And punter seemed to flop on that. I think maybe it was
in a
his
tie
mind.
game. In a tie game.
You think that this game would have ended differently? You think that there was a doubt? You think that the
Was there a moment in the game where you said to yourself, I think the Dolphins are going to win
oh
this game?
man, Josh Allen shook with his 134 QBR here.
what Dan's
Or I guess
describing
63 with
is quite
rating,
literally
yeah.
what happened, which is the Bills sleptwalk through that game.
Yeah.
And they pulled out a double-digit.
And guess what? When it was time to win the game, their quarterback
turned it on.
won them the game.
What? Let me find Shakir. Trusty.
And when the Dolphins needed their quarterback to try and win the game, he doesn't see a linebacker and throws an
How much longer are we going to talk about this team?
This is it. The season's over.
Yes, they're 0-3.
I don't know.
They're 0-3. I know it's an expanded NFL schedule, and we're still collecting data on what it means to be 0-3.
Next 2 weeks are get back games, man. You
The
have
next 4.
You
I think
host the
they've only
Jets,
got
then
one hard
at
one.
the Panthers. Chargers
Wow,
is
that's
going to
Monday
be
Night Football. The
a little
Jets.
tricky.
Okay.
Then the Browns
That's
at
a
the
win.
Browns.
Oh, they can go on.
Falcons, we're still not sure here. Ravens is where things get dicey. But let's
Dicey.
say you get here 1, 2, 3. You rack off here 4 straight wins. You have a winning record at the Falcons.
There was a bit of news in that Stephen Ross likes Mike McDaniel, doesn't want to fire him. That's pretty obvious. And he said, reportedly, the only way he'd consider firing Mike McDaniel is if the fans stop showing up to the building or the team looks like they check out. Team didn't look checked out. They put forth one of their best efforts. Dan says that's about as good as they can possibly look. So it seems as though Mike McDaniel is safe. So now we turn our attention to Tyreek Hill, Greer, and perhaps Tua.
I had someone float this by me, and I'm asking you guys your thoughts on this because we've been sitting on it for a couple of days. Where are we on the Brian Flores lawsuit? Do we know?
I saw a couple of things yesterday in headlines. That was the second headline that caught my attention yesterday because he says his attorney is saying that they're stalling, that the league is stalling on the lawsuit. But the other headline I saw that I don't know if Mike can help me explain some of this. Perhaps before the end of the show, someone can explain this headline to me. But it was a stunner to see right next to the Flores story. Witness in long-delayed University of Miami murder case is not dead was the headline. Is not dead. ESPN reporters.
This is how we're going to decide to break down the Gators Canes. Yes, it was a tragic thing. We can dig into the Gators sordid history when it comes to murder.
I'm just saying, Roy has the proper look on his face with what is that story? Witness in long delayed
sad thing
University of Miami murder case
Zapata.
is not dead.
Just to close the loop on the Brian Flores question for a second. The reason I asked that is because that lawsuit has implications of racial discrimination, and Stephen Ross is named in this lawsuit. And while you're implicated in a lawsuit involving racial discrimination, is it easy to fire your black GM and biracial head coach while claiming that you are not involved in discrimination?
Get the hell
Someone
outta here.
threw that at me, and I said, dicey situation.
Get out of here.
I do like this as a topic for someone else.
I had forgotten that Mike McDaniel was biracial until you mentioned that. We talked about it the first week he was hired and then never mentioned
It's hard
it
that
again.
next 2 fires also, black. Say there's not a pattern there.
Which of these stats that I gave you guys from all of them, because I'm going to give you another one here, Tua is now 2-14 away from home against winning teams, which is the second worst mark for any quarterback in the last decade. I gave you a whole bunch of bad stats. Is there one among all of them that you guys found most interesting? Because all of them are damning.
Yeah, the never beating good teams. The never beating good teams.
Winning teams are not something that they can beat. They've lost 14 of their last 17 and 8 in a row against teams with a winning record.
They never beat teams over 500.
The last time they felt good was when they all snowed us with that 6-touchdown performance to come back against the Ravens, where they were throwing the ball down the field. Can I ask you guys again, though, as we talk about Tua, like Waddle skating, Hill's not going to skate, but Waddle skating, that is a very high pick. Like, that was picked to make sure you get pieces to help the piece that you have, right? Jacksonville's tried to load up, trying to help Trevor Lawrence to cover Trevor Lawrence's flaws. You got 2 top picks, first-round picks at wide receiver that way. That's supposed to look like what the Eagles look like in their prime when they've got 2 number ones. Like, you take a receiver in the top 10, he's got to be a number 1. Like, he's got to feel and play like a number 1. And Waddle hasn't for a long time. Like, you forget about Waddle for long stretches of time during those football games.
But Waddle plays, like, we've seen Waddle look like a number 1 wide receiver, and Waddle, and Hill too for that matter, but Waddle, like, he's dependent on other things happening in order for him to produce.
He is skating a bit, though. He did give it a go, and he scored a touchdown. He is playing hurt. He's been hurt.
He's always hurt, man. The wind blows, and that guy's on the sideline for like 3 plays.
Part
He's
of the
so
data.
frustrating.
Yeah,
He could be so good, but like everything seems to keep him off the field for some reason.
He doesn't have good size for the sport.
That's absolutely so.
In terms of frame, like that, it doesn't look like he can take a
He's
hit.
bigger than Tyreek Hill, who stays out there.
I mean, but Tyreek Hill's built different.
The 3 key pieces that they have on offense, though, are all undersized. Tua, Hill, and Waddle. Like, this is part of why it is they get soft. None of them are A.J. Brown.
Yeah,
None of them
Gordon's
look
got good size. I like that. I think they found one in Gordon. Yeah.
I found myself getting mad throughout the game that the game was close. Not because I sat here and, opined.
Because you want it to be right. We get it.
No, I don't have a
Yeah, we get it. You want it to be. You'd rather your
You don't
team
know
lose
what's
so you
going
can
on
be
in my
right.
mind,
You want it
okay?
to be right at the detriment of your city.
You
and
don't
your
know
team. We
what
got you.
thoughts are happening
It's
here.
fine. The thoughts in your heart.
Yeah, you know what?
Okay.
I do have thoughts in my
Yeah,
heart.
no, I heard
We
yesterday.
established in the Shadow Show he likes admitting when he's wrong too.
Yeah, I know.
I have no problem admitting when I'm wrong. You think you don't know me, all right? You'll know me.
Okay.
Okay.
Go
Thoughts
on.
in your heart.
What was your
Okay.
point, sir?
Okay.
Go on. Did you forget?
Okay. As I was saying, lost my train of thought.
he does that. He does that.
Tried to stall a little bit there.
I noticed.
It's
I didn't come back
He's
to me.
very good at
It's what he does.
doing that.
You were upset that
not-
your team was keeping the game close.
Yes.
Now I have to do my job and your brain's
He
job.
does,
Okay.
Yes.
he does know
Great.
what's going on in
Thank
your
you.
head, and he keeps track of it, unlike you.
That's a good job out of you, Billy.
Do you want to, as you
So
were
you're
saying,
sad your team was keeping it close.
No, it's been built up too much. I'm abandoning the thoughts.
Oh,
no,
man.
we really want the idea.
It's been built up too
No,
much.
give it to us,
No.
please.
Does this mean we
come
can
on, please?
Come on.
move on from
we
this
want the
scene?
thought in your heart.
Can we
Come
move on?
on.
Can we move on?
Please.
I'm begging to move on.
Zaslow,
Let's talk about those dead witnesses.
Yeah, let's go there. I really want to. I got something on this.
he's not
so
dead.
Dead guy is not dead.
No, he's not dead. It's not a dead witness. You don't know the facts that are in my heart.
Shame
Get
on
the
you.
get the facts. in my
Undead
heart.
witnesses. Zombie witnesses.
Shame on you.
We thought he was dead, and he's not dead.
Shame on you.
Miracle. What do you mean shame on me?
Shame on you. Like, that's how you, like, you got College Game Day in town. You got Fowler and Herbie on the call.
Kachuk's gonna be there.
Kachuk's going to be
Hell
the
yeah.
celebrity
Big
picker,
picker.
which is going to be electric. A lot of people are upset about this. A lot of people that don't follow hockey, I guess.
Why? Why
I
are
don't
people...
know. Like, I mean, you got the most hated player in the league, but beloved. I
The
am not
best
lying.
American hockey player.
I am not lying when I say in this market, and think who's come to this market in terms of immediate impact on the playing surface. Matthew Tkachuk is tied with LeBron James. And it wasn't exactly like LeBron turned the fortunes of a franchise around. He made the sport matter. So you could argue the most impactful athlete in terms of acquisition in the history of this market
Go on.
is Matthew Tkachuk.
It's the best trade in South Florida history.
Ooh, it's definitely Panthers. Best trade overall?
Of course, it has to be. Like, the worst one is Miguel Cabrera, and the best one has to be Kachuk.
What about Shaq?
I mean, it was a good one, but Shaq was the second most important player on that championship team.
Shaq didn't make it to the finals his first year. Matthew Tkachuk made it to the finals his
Okay.
first year and lost, like LeBron.
Okay.
And then went back to back, like LeBron. It's LeBron and Matthew Tkachuk in terms of immediate impact. And when you consider the franchise's history and inability to get over the hump, it's Matthew Tkachuk when you apply that context.
technically in the books, that LeBron decision was a trade.
Nah, we all know that's not a trade.
Ended up being a bad trade because he didn't end. Yes, this is a take. Acquiring LeBron was a bad trade because you actually gave up assets and he didn't extend.
They were still paying off those assets while he played for Cleveland.
Right. He helped rebuild the Cleveland Cavs.
You can't say that was a bad trade.
Bad trade.
You can't say it was a bad trade.
Anytime you're still paying off a trade when the player's not with you anymore, it's bad trade.
Yeah.
Everybody knows that.
It also didn't live up to expectations, if we're going to be honest.
No, they didn't win. Not 4, not 5, not 6, not 7.
Bust of an experiment, really.
Really, it is. And let's not pretend like Chris Bosh and Dwayne Wade in their prime won in a 1-1. You go wherever you want, LeBron. Go to Chicago. Go to the Knicks. You think you're beating Chris Bosh, Dwayne Wade, and whatever Pat Riley uses to build out the rest of that roster? Let me tell you.
Don't forget, greatest free agent signing, Luol Deng.
Luol Deng.
Oh, dang.
Bosh and Wade get one. I don't know. Bosh and Wade get one. People forget how freaking good Dwayne Wade
You know
was.
about Goran Dragic?
What was his deal? He was always just hanging around, milling about at the arena, making it seem like he wanted to play here. And every chance he got to come back, he's like, nah, I'll go somewhere else instead. What was his deal?
You know about Zoran Dragic?
I'm sorry that this is a delayed penalty.
Minor penalty, 2 minutes, dumpster juice take.
Mike, out. You can't
Mike?
say, Mike, you can't say LeBron James was a bad trade. You can't say that and then follow it up with, personally in your heart that Chris Bosh and Dwayne Wade would have certainly won a title. Get out of here.
How do you know in your heart they wouldn't?
I get no points for my amazing Matthew Tkachuk take that no one else had.
No points. You get out of here because it's a dump.
Great talking Gators Canes.
Well, if you wanted to talk, witness in a long-delayed University of Miami murder case is not dead. If you wanted to talk about that, I don't understand how it is that if you read that headline, you don't keep reading. Like that headline, ESPN reporters knocked on a dude's door. The police, when they were investigating Brian Pata's murder, thought that one of the witnesses was dead, and he's not dead. He's just old, doesn't come out of his house much, and now doesn't remember the details because it's been so long, and he's in his 80s. But that's a shocking headline.
Yeah, that makes you go,
That's right. Thank you, Roy. That's absolutely that's absolutely what your reaction is supposed to be to that.
How do you decide the man's dead? Did no one knock on his door hey, is Ken there? No, he's not there. Dead. Must be dead. How is that decided? There no death certificate somewhere?
I like the idea if you capture someone, they're not home about dead.
I mean, that seems to be what I have. I must be dead. I don't know. Case closed.
It seems to be an investigation that wasn't very thorough.
but somehow the bills were paid on time.
Another Zaslow snort,
What?
our second historic snort from Zaslow laughing. Zaslow again continues to get ego inflation because more and more people are noticing his opinions. They're noticing the things that he's doing. He's going to be a part of College Game Day's football extravaganza in Miami this weekend as part of ESPN.
I didn't think you remembered the name. You got it right. Yeah.
ESPN Radio's coverage of UM Gators, but also, and this is not going to help disinflate his head, now Paul Maurice is indeed giving Zaslow the credit for ending a vacation early to rescue the Panthers last year when nobody remembers this, but they were in very big trouble against the Maple Leafs. That was they were down, and it was a really problematic situation. In the last 2 years, there hasn't been a scarier situation, even with McDavid, than being down to Toronto in overtime, down 2-0 in the series.
And down 2-0 in that game, by the way,
Yes,
too.
and here's Paul Maurice giving Zaslow the credit that he obviously deserves.
That's the great stories of here, and then when you can get grandparents, parents, and a kid that are all tied to that, they get to keep that memory for the rest of their lives, and that's how you build fans.
We had that happen here with ESPN Radio and ESPN West Palm. One of our guys, Jonathan Zaslow, cut his family vacation short.
There you go.
Because when he was at home,
Right.
y'all were winning. When he got hit the road, y'all got a couple of losses there.
And you will... Okay, so first of all, what was his name?
Jonathan Zaslow.
Will you tell Jonathan I said hello and thank you very much for that, because this all weaves together.
Thank you for your service, Zaslow.
Yes. Thank you.
I think you should be the game day picker instead of Matthew Tkachuk because you saved the season, and even though that's the biggest trade in history and forced Mike to say that LeBron James was a bad trade.
Bad trade.
Zaslow, I think you should bang the drum. Bang the drum.
Well, first of all, Coach, you're welcome. I appreciate those guys, my guys there at ESPN 106.3 in West Palm, not also mentioning to him that I once dubbed him Murder of Fun. That's good looking out. I appreciate that. I would love to bang the drum. We'll see. That's neither here nor there. That clip there makes me very happy, Dan. Very happy.
Did you feel bad at all that he didn't initially know who was being talked about?
I'm a fan. No, I'm just a fan. No.
You're not just a fan. You're somebody who cut a vacation short to save your team.
Just did my part. Just doing my part for the team. And hey, you all would have done the same thing.
I'm not sure that we all.
I wasn't
done
traveling at the time, but I certainly would have because I love this team and I love Paul Maurice, even though I also agreed with you at the time. But now I realize that it's growing pains, and we're both big men that can admit when they were wrong.
I love that team so
I
much.
love that about us.
So I
love that about us, too.
I just want to be clear on what you guys love about you, just to be clear. So, for the record, two-time defending champion Paul Maurice is the murderer of fun, and LeBron James was a bad trade for the Miami Heat.
Yours.
They're all the same every week also.
Yeah, yours.
I do carry them over, but there's one here that says athletes should only be allowed to celebrate if their team is winning. I don't believe so.
Define athletes, and what do you mean by that?
If their team is winning, you can celebrate a big play. If they're not, you shouldn't. But there's nothing funnier than a guy going absolutely bonkers for like a sack and he's losing by 30 points.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
What if it's a close game? What if it's a 3-point game or one possession game? You're still not allowed to celebrate?
No, I guess that makes sense, yeah.
So your whole thing is dismantled.
It's not mine. It's a guy on the internet. Can you stop doing that?
Well, this is supposed to be a promo about what we talked about, and you were just giving hot takes.
About things we didn't talk about in the promo.
Exactly
in the show.
right.
Yeah. Like hot dogs and the prime hot dog.
did talk
eaters.
about
Takes and hot dogs.
snack wraps a lot.
Yeah,
A lot of snack wrap talk.
It takes 60 years to go to Mars.
I'm really in on his gas station to Mars idea.
Whoa, spoiler
First off,
alert.
it's not a gas station; it's a
It's
rest
called
stop.
Trademark.
and
It's
it's
a
called
Yeah.
instead of the International Space Station, the ASS, the ass.
Yeah.
Oh, I love that.
What's the A?
I don't know. I haven't decided yet.
That's coming up on Mystery Crate.
This episode of the Dan Le Batard Show is presented by DraftKings. DraftKings, the crown is yours.
Let's get some real football expertise to answer some of those questions that we didn't have answers to earlier. We'll do that in a second with Dominique Foxworth. But before we do that, Roy, can you please tell me who the nuttiest fan of the week was, brought to you by Hampton Farms? We got to send Dominique some peanuts so that we're literally paying him in peanuts.
Yeah, congratulations to Texas Tech Tortillas. They are this week's nuttiest fan, presented by Hampton Farms, the official snack of the tailgates.
Well deserved. Been doing that for 30 years. We just noticed.
That's right. And
That's
we're
great.
celebrating it by making. You shouldn't throw away tortillas. I think they should be penalized for that, not rewarded, but I'm not in charge around here. A couple of stats from the Dolphins game last night and in general, okay? Last night was the first Dolphins drive with multiple third down conversions of 10-plus yards since Week 8 of 2022. And also, Mike Renner of CBS Sports is going to hit Dolphin fans right in the groin region with Tua's cap number is higher than Josh Allen's in 2025, 2026, 2027, and 2028. That's a structural flaw in your division.
He competed in The Bachelorette.
Dominique, what can you tell me, and welcome, sir, about what you saw last night and how you felt about it? Because I was arguing that's about as well as the Dolphins can play.
Yeah, I mean, we don't do moral victories, but, I mean, that was a chance that you guys could have been looking at an overhaul after that game, and it feels like it was slightly encouraging. The stat about the multiple third down conversions is an interesting one because that's one thing that jumped out to me in the game is how many drives they had that were just empty, like 3-and-out drives, relative to the Bills, who I felt like never really went 3-and-out, which they did score on every drive. They missed the field goal. They weren't perfect either. But the Dolphins really put a ton of pressure on their not that great defense by going 3-and-out. So they have a long, beautiful, they had like a 9-yard drive, a 16-yard drive that ended in touchdowns. And that's like, this is good football team stuff. And Tua was excellent in certain situations. He was able to get out of the pocket and create and do like unorthodox outside of the structure type of things, the things that Chris was looking for him to do in the past. And I was impressed with him. But then those 3-and-out drives are really killer. And then, of course, there's penalties and late game turnovers that kill you guys. But the talent, it's just a reminder, the talent differential in the NFL is so minuscule that any team can find a way to compete if they put together some good drives and don't have stupid penalties and inopportune turnovers at the end of the game.
Dominique, it's hard for us because we're watching on TV and you can't see down the field, but like, what kind of defense?
Oh, see, that's where you're wrong. Amazon, baby. That Thursday night game, you watch the next gen joint? Oh, so much better.
What do they
the whole
do?
Field.
Really?
Yeah, so that they have like a next, you know, when they first came on Amazon, they had a bunch of different like side casts. It was like Dude Perfect and some other just trying to pull people in that were just boring and terrible. But they also had the next gen telecast, which the next gen telecast shows you the whole field, saves me so much time. I don't have to do too many rewatches because I can see the whole field from the beginning to the end of the game. It's great, but I still had to rewatch because last night I was teaching my son about exponents.
All right, so help me out here then, because I didn't know about that. Now, I'll also tell you I'm probably still not going to watch that. But anyway, I didn't know about that. So what is a defense doing that is preventing the Dolphins from even attempting anything over the middle or downfield or Waddle and Hill? Like, it was screen pass after screen pass.
We were saying before you came on here, Dominique, that Tua had more passes or as many passes behind the line of scrimmage as past the line of scrimmage.
So it's a combination of things. It's they're playing deep zones. They're forcing them to do that. They're giving extra attention to Tyreek Hill. They're only rushing 4, and Tua doesn't have a super strong arm. So the Dolphins blitzed a lot, but they also did some of this deep zone stuff to try to take away the big play, and they're tiny little windows. And Josh Allen can rip it into those windows. And so when they are small windows to get deep downfield, if you have the arm strength and the accuracy and the anticipation, which is what Tua used to be, like the end cuts on anticipation, then you can hit it. But I think that a lot of teams have decided that the way that they want to play Tua is challenge him to be able to attack down the field. Like challenge his team to have a really long drive without making a mistake by forcing them to check down and try to take Tyreek Hill out of the game. And if you're going to attack us downfield, you're going to have to squeeze it into a small zone with a quarterback who is not known for his arm strength.
But is that new? Were teams not doing that 2 years ago, or is it you think more? It is a drop off from Tua.
No, I think it's somewhat of a change. They ran the ball well last night, but they ran the ball better in the past, which then that would cause the guys to come up and be a little more aggressive. And also, I think the like anticipatory throws and the Tyreek Hill rolling out of these cuts into the end cuts, like I think it was slightly different. It was a little newer. And I think combining all those things in Tua has taken more and more hits. So I think that's also part of it where they're like, we're going to make him stand in this pocket. And we assume that he doesn't want to hit. We know you don't want him to get hit, so we're going to try to make this play take as long as possible. Because if you extend the play, and like I haven't talked to the Bills coaching staff, but when I'm watching that tape, that's what I'm thinking. Is they're like, please, the more times we make you do this, the more likely you're going to make a mistake. So whether it's make you check down or make you try to squeeze it into a zone deep down the field or hold you or keep the coverage so long that you have to flush out of the pocket and create something on your own, either run or throw in a run, you are going to make a mistake. And Tua actually made fewer mistakes last night than I think the Bills expected him to, but the defense couldn't hold up.
So you're saying that the Miami Dolphins, structurally, one of the flaws is, I'm guessing, you don't want Lamar Jackson and Josh Allen to extend a play, but you do want Tua to extend a play?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's what they're hoping for. They're daring him like, all right, you need a big chunk sooner or later. Like, that's one of the things. Explosive plays are really important to winning. You're going to need a big chunk. Do you have the arm strength and accuracy and faith, honestly, to let it rip down the field into this tight zone multiple times a game? If you don't, then you're going to have to roll out to force us to distort our zone. And we know, and no one would say this publicly, but in a football game, we know what you don't want as far as injuries concerned. And I think the opponents know that no one wants Tua to get hit. They don't want Tua running the ball, even though for whatever reason they do these zone reads where I'm like, there's no way you're actually going to let this man keep it on the zone read, are you? Like, the backside end should not respect that zone read. But I think that's what they're thinking is like, let's put Tua in a position that he's uncomfortable. And even if it's not about exposing him to more hits, it's also like he's not great in that outer structure. So, like, we're going to force you to do what you don't want.
Is he missing things this season? Because kind of what you're saying, I noticed the past couple games, when he was the fastest to get rid of the ball and he was just throwing passes where he thought people were going to be, they were effective. This season, it seems like he has the ball longer. I mean, numerically, he has the ball longer where people would say, great, he has a better line, but it's been less successful. Is it just coincidental? Is he missing things or are they just not there?
Yeah, so I think time to throw is one of those tricky ones that people assume means that your O-line is protecting you well, which I guess it could, but it also does mean that you are not playing within structure or you're not comfortable. So I think that it's part of the fact that it's not a secret. That was the big move is like, we're going to do these motions for Tyreek Hill and do these anticipatory deep end cuts. That was their offense. And that, again, is a shorter throw. So I think taking into account Tua's limitations with arm strength, the challenge is, and he did it, I think twice last night, that he hit the outside, deeper outcut throws. They're going to challenge him to do that because with that ball in the air for that long floating, they feel like that is to their advantage because he can't rip those throws.
Well, what else here, though? Because, Dominique, when you talk about margin for error in this sport, it's a bit crazy, but can we simplify this to when Tua was throwing the ball faster, getting rid of it faster than any quarterback ever, faster than Tom Brady? They had the best offense in the league statistically when he was getting rid of the ball faster than Tom Brady. Now he's literally taking 1 second longer. That's the difference between best offense in the league and a team that can't throw the ball down the field.
I mean, Dan, 1 second is an eternity in football. Like, I think it's like 2.5 seconds is like the average time to throw. So, like, a whole second is forever. It's going to change all the dynamics. And I also think that I want to say it's an oversimplification, but I think that makes it seem like that stat doesn't matter. I think that stat matters, but there's so many other confounding variables that will play into how effective this offense is. I think explosive plays are like the currency of offense in football. If you get a lot of explosive plays, then you're going to have a lot of success. Creating those explosive plays are sometimes dependent on other things that are less interesting or less attractive to talk about, which includes like the running game. That was the key to the Eagles last year, was they were able to consistently create explosive plays without the high risk of throwing the ball down the field. So throwing the ball downfield is a lower probability of success. So you don't want to do it all the time, even though you need explosives. Handing the ball off and also throwing the ball downfield opens you up to turnovers. Handing the ball off Worst case scenario, we're going to get a 2-yard gain, a 1-yard loss. We can live to fight another day. Best case scenario for the Eagles last year was we're going to get a 50-yard touchdown. And that was the same way that the Dolphins offense was at one point, was they were getting explosive plays from the running attack, which then causes teams to not be comfortable, to sit back in those ridiculous zones. And then that opens up Tyreek Hill. You have to isolate Tyreek Hill if you're going to try to be aggressive in the running attack. And all of that stuff happened so fast that it protected the offensive line. They don't have those advantages right now because teams are not concerned as much about the running attack, and they're forcing Tua to make those throws that they weren't really taking away those deep end cuts as much as they've decided to now. But honestly, having said all of that, they were actually much better on offense than I anticipated that they would be. But the Bills' defense is really injured and not all that great.
Dominique, what did you see on the interception?
I think the defensive tackle won really fast, which I think put pressure on Tua. Like, that was definitely a pass rush win. It was like less than a second. It felt like he was into his face, which gave him trouble. I think there was an anticipation that Tua knew where he wanted to throw that ball before the snap happened, which I don't think is a problem. But there's something that Tony Romo said to me a long time ago in a joint practice that we had when I was with the Broncos. Is we were doing one-on-ones, and I had a really good break on the ball, and he threw it super high, so I didn't get the interception. And I was like jokingly, you got lucky. And he was saying he never looks at the receiver in that situation. He's not throwing to a receiver. He's throwing away from the DB. And I think that when you know where your receivers are supposed to be, your eyes should be on the defensive players. And it was like a inside linebacker who widened his zone more quickly and wider than he normally would, and Tua didn't anticipate him doing it. He didn't see him doing it. And that's like, I'm not a quarterback. It seems ridiculous to say, don't look at your receivers, look at the defenders, but it makes sense. If you know where your receiver is supposed to be, you need to be looking for threats, not looking for opportunities.
I want to speed him up and get all around the league talking. No, I know, but I want to go all around the league.
You're doing good.
You're doing great.
Nice and slow, baby.
We've got a gimmick.
No,
You're a quickie guy.
We want quickie.
I'm not a quickie guy.
We want all football quickiness when we leave the Dolphins. But before I do that, I just wanted to ask a question to all of you. I noticed today, I had not noticed it before. I was driving and I saw a library in a place that I had not noticed that there was a library before. And I got to thinking as I drove by it, I'm like, how is the library not extinct by now? Are people just using it for the internet? Are they going, how has the library not yet gone extinct because you can get all this stuff without leaving your home? What are your thoughts on the library before we speed you up and bounce around the league?
That's amazing. I haven't given much thought to the library, but my guess is the reason why it's not extinct is because it's not a for-profit business and is supported by government funds, and the library is probably adapted to having programs, would be my guess. And people who can't afford to send their kids to camp, can't afford to send their kids to all types of classes and expose them to different things. My guess is that public libraries probably provide a lot of different those services, and there's still the internet. So yeah, I don't think that a lot of people are checking out books necessarily, but also I think people who don't have access or can't afford to buy a bunch of things who still like to read, they probably go there and get books. That was a weird change up.
I went to the library yesterday, Dominique, since this came up, the library. And what you mentioned, the library does have programs. During the summer, they have things where, they have guests come in and they have, readings to kids, stuff like that. So my wife would take my daughters, once a week to the library in the summer. And when they would go to the library, they'd listen to the readings, and then they would, check out books. And they'd come home and would read them the books or whatever. I found some of those library books, and I was like, we got to return these to the library. But she would take them to different libraries. So there's this one branch that they would do it on a Tuesday, and another branch they would do it on a Monday or whatever, right? So then I was trying to figure out which library do these books come from. We thought it was this one branch, but I wasn't sure. So I was calling my wife, but she was at work. She wasn't answering. I'm like, I'm just going to go in and talk to the person at the front desk and figure out if this is the library these books came from, if I can return them here. So I asked the woman in Spanish. Did these books come from here? I have to return these books. My wife and daughter, I'm so sorry. They checked out these books a while back. Are they from this library? And you know what she told me? She goes, oh, it doesn't matter. You can return them at any library, and then we'll figure it out. I was like, whoa, okay, hold on a second. I can just return these at any library. That's very convenient. I don't like that. I don't like that because then, like, she's like, then we'll just send it to right library. I'm like, that, like, is I'm sure going to cost money. That where's that coming from? I don't like this. Like, I feel like there should be accountability here, and I should know where these books should go. Not me, like my family are the delinquents, not me. But regardless, I'm responsible for this family. I should have to drive to that library, not one of the employees here, however they do it, right? And then I said,
how many libraries do you guys frequent? I feel like most people, like, you got your
there's
neighborhood
a decent,
library.
I think we got like 3 down
There's a
in
good
Dade.
amount of libraries, yeah. Different sizes. Some are like the main libraries, and there's like smaller ones in
You
like
do the
little
Westchester
shopping
one?
centers. That's the one I was at yesterday trying to return these books, but they were from the library that was by the Home Depot on like 117th, where there used to be a all-you-can-eat pizza buffet. Anyways, so
I mean, no disrespect, but
By
when
the
I
Home
think
Depot,
of South Florida, I don't think of like the most well-read like community. I'm sorry.
Okay, well, I will
Dan Le
I will
Batard
take
is,
that
like, the smartest
disrespectfully.
guy down there, which
How
maybe
dare
not Dade.
you?
I will take that disrespectfully, but I will move on nonetheless. So then I said to the librarian, I said, again, I'm so sorry.
cocaine,
Like,
that's
thanks. She's like, they were from here, but they could be from anywhere. It's fine. I said, okay, I'm so sorry, but I know these are past due. Like, how much do I owe you?
Pink cocaine.
And you know what the librarian told me when I said, again, I know these are past due. How much do I owe you? She said, nothing. We don't charge late fees anymore. I was like, this is bullshit. Like, this is absolute madness. There need to be consequences for my delinquent family holding on to these books longer than they were supposed to. There's no accountability anymore in the library system. You could just take the books wherever you want. You don't have to pay if they're late. Bring them back if you want to. If you don't, no big deal. Like, this is insanity.
That's
Someone needs to come in.
That they're losing. That's how you know that they're losing, is because I know it doesn't make sense. You would think that an industry that's under stress would capitulate to everything, but or would not capitulate to anything. They'd say, well, give me this, give me that. I need it. I need help. But no, when you're losing, you do whatever. Like, I'll take whatever.
No.
You're going to bring me some books back, please?
My kids need to learn about deadlines. Kids need to learn about accountability. This is where it goes. I mean, they don't drive yet, but this is where it goes back. This is how much you have to pay if you don't meet this deadline. You know, she told me, she's like, no, we don't really charge if they're late anymore. If someone needs the book, like, we'll call you and we'll ask for you to bring it back. It's like, you're not calling me to ask me to bring this book back. If I go to a library, the book's not there, I'm like, that's book's lost or whatever. But I've never gone to a librarian like, when are you expecting this back? Whatever. They're not doing that. The library right now, and I'm not endorsing this, but the plan that she laid out for me, free books forever. Just go in, take a book off the shelf, scan it out if you want to. Don't scan it out if you don't want to. Bring it back if you feel like it at any date and time. Doesn't matter. Here's a date 4 weeks from now. Here's a suggestion. If you don't bring it back, it doesn't matter. We're not going to charge you regardless. There's no consequence. This is a lawless society, and it starts with the libraries. Yeah. Like, someone needs to come in and be a library enforcer. And I said that if it's my mission in life to do that, it's not my calling that I thought I would be called for. But if I have to come in and I have to clean up the library system, I will do it. Not today, but at some point, like, I will do it if I have to. And I know what you guys are going to say. This was a Seinfeld episode. There was Bookman who would go in there and he took the job very seriously. The world could use more of those guys that go in there and respect the library. Okay. You can't just be taking books off the shelf and never having to return them.
I agree.
That's insanity. And when you do, just return it wherever you want, and maybe we'll figure it out or maybe we won't.
And might I add, you were right to take that disrespectfully, because literacy rates in Miami-Dade County far exceed that of the greater D.C. area. Mr. Glasshouse, you're like Jess Smetana telling me how bad Miami is while she's in South Carolina. You shut your mouth.
I didn't say Miami was bad.
Oh, no, you were cracking jokes at our literacy
said we were
rate,
stupid.
which, by the way, felt a little racist.
I thought you were mentioning cocaine also.
I was going to accuse him of racism.
Well, because like, how could all those Hispanics down there read?
That's right.
That's what that gave off.
That's
what that gave off.
Mike, I took it the same way you did.
That's what that gave off.
All right, let's turn our ire to Billy instead. It feels like he's on a slippery slope to authoritarianism. That's
accountability. There's rules.
This is a weird apology out of you. That's a weird apology.
Okay, hold on. I apologize that I associated Miami with things more fun and interesting than reading old paperbacks. My apologies. You guys are a very learned culture. Unfortunately, you use that education to do crypto scams and whatnot, but you're smart people who read
things
a lot.
look chill in D.C. right now. You're right. You're right. We're the center of corruption. That's our bad. How How could I confuse DC with corruption?
Dominique, let me ask you something. If you had a podcast recording and you just didn't show up because you didn't feel like it, and they're like, it's okay, just show up whenever you feel like it. If you want to come next week, it's fine. If you want to come the following week, it's fine. If not, it doesn't matter. If someone wants to hear your podcast, we'll call you, and then you can come in and you could do the podcast whenever they want. You would never do that. What were you saying? You're teaching your kids factors yesterday?
Exponents.
Oh,
Exponents? You're teaching them
yeah.
exponents? I'm sure your kids know when a library book is due, they take it back on time, and they know where to take it back, correct?
I mean, yeah, they do.
All right, why is
they
it
take
so
out books from the library at school though, so they just take them back to school.
Why is it so crazy for me to want my kids to need accountability?
My
My delinquent children who did not return their books, and then I have to figure out where to take them back and offer to pay for that out of my money, and then no one will even take it. I wanted to be punished yesterday for the sins of my family, and the library system wouldn't give it to me.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I've heard Chris Cody read.
That's fair.
At Le Batard
Actually, I
Show.
want to give Chris some credit and chastise you. There was a couple days ago where Chris Cody made an incredibly smart and funny joke, and y'all just blew by it, and I was hurt. I called Chris personally to tell him that was a good joke. He said that Ken Rosenthal looked in third person, and I thought that was funny. It was a good joke, and you guys just didn't expect for it to be anything smart or funny to come from him. Or I guess you expect funny things, but you expect to laugh at him, not appreciate the man's funny, smart joke.
I think
And it was a good one.
we're well within our right to not expect smart from him.
He's earned that disrespect, and he can be funny as long as he's not reading, or he can be intentionally funny. When he's reading, he's unintentionally funny. Let's put these poll questions up. Should the library raise your children and teach them about accountability? Are you surprised the library isn't extinct? And do you love the pizza buffet? I took my take to my wife the other day about the library and learned that she had recently not only been to the library, but stunned the librarian, who was suddenly radiant when she asked for a library card, which evidently someone hadn't asked for in weeks. Because we're not doing that very much anymore. The asking, the getting of a library card, I can't imagine is happening a whole lot these days.
I appreciate that you are trying to pay with cash and your wife is trying to get a library card. We are just turning back the clock in the Le Batard household.
That's right. We got to the library,
I'm sorry,
horse and wagon.
You guys didn't know that W was spelled out. Like, I'm sorry, I didn't think that you guys were like the cutting edge of literacy. Like,
How do you
didn't
spell
know the
it?
history. I mean, you spell it like W, like obviously. And I mean, actually, in like French, I believe they call it a double V, which like you guys talked about that yesterday. Yeah, so like you talked about how it should be a double V because that's what it looks like, but it was originally a W. And French is the influence why we say Z instead of Z, right? Because everyone else in English says Z, we say Z, and I believe that's also French influence.
How do you
Letters are
spell
fun.
W? The word double and then a U?
That's how I would have spelled it.
You don't know how to spell it.
You don't need to spell letters. They're letters.
You don't.
They're
You
not
don't.
words.
Do you know what the dot over top of the I and the J is? Know what it's called? It's not a dot. You're not crossing your T's and dotting your I's. You're crossing your T's, tittling your I's. Gotta tittle them.
Whoa, that sounds sensual. That sounds like you do
Dan,
that slowly. You're
Dan,
grow
a
up.
tittler.
I mean, I did earlier, man.
I had someone reach out to me about the
Damn
P's
right.
and Q's conversation yesterday.
some
If
new
you want
furniture.
some info
Yeah,
on the
get some new
P's and
furniture.
Hey,
Q's.
Dominique, stop. You've barely let Billy talk this segment.
P's and Q's.
We were doing that thing where he's talking and I'm doing another
No,
thing.
that
And
leads to
everyone's
very
guy can't
long
get a
post-show
word in
meetings, I got to
edgewise.
tell you. No one finds it as funny as you do. We're going to be here till 4 o'clock. Dan's going to tell us we're talking over each other. P's and Q's refers to when printers use letter set presses and would have to set letters backwards when they were setting up for the printing. It would be easy to confuse the two letters since they are nearly mirror images. So they said, mind your P's and Q's.
Oh, so it's not thank yous.
No,
That was-
that information
that
was
was
bad
Wow,
yesterday.
there's Jeremy.
I'm glad we were able to clarify that. Billy, always a model of efficiency. Thank you for taking care of that for us. I'll see you in that 4-hour meeting after
Yeah,
the show.
see.
We'll talk about everything that happened.
Talking over to each
Let's
other.
speed up Dominique Foxworth here and get as much football information as we can. Get your football questions ready. We're going to go as fast as we can here. True or false, the Vikings will be better with Carson Wentz?
false. I think the assumption that Carson Wentz will function on time, even though that's never been his style of play, and this offense is a faulty one. I think the issues that Carson Wentz has had are not going to necessarily be rectified by the fact that he's with KOC. But bringing back Darashaw, I think Darashaw's healthy again. That will change the offense.
It's early, but Bo Nix is presently rated the worst quarterback in the league by Pro Football Focus. Now, I will apply context. They also claim Baker Mayfield has been the second worst quarterback in the league, and we know that to be false. So what do you make of this?
Yeah, I mean, I think the Bo Nix stuff is simple. Their offense is designed around short passes, like screen-type passes, and deep shots. And Bo Nix has thrown a lot of interceptions on the deep shots so far this year, and that's really slowed down their offense. And if the only passes that they're gonna allow you to take downfield end up in like interceptions and incomplete passes, yeah, they're gonna have to rework that offense in a way to allow Bo Nix to make some plays.
Can you explain the Baker rating then? Because he's played pretty clean for Baker Mayfield. He always has a healthy amount of interceptions because he's taken the shots. He's done things without tackles. Isn't PFF supposed to apply context? That one confused me as a Baker Mayfield homer.
Yeah, I have a hard time with that also, but my assumption is they factor in they don't factor in the result of the play as much as they factor in the process of the play. So if there's someone open that he misses, they'll count that against him if there's a bad play. Or if there's an interception that's dropped where it won't count against you in QBR or stats, or it won't hurt you if you lose the game, they will count as an interception, like a intercepted or turnover-worthy play.
He had one of those on Monday night, no doubt.
Yeah, so I think that's probably why.
Why are we talking so much about the tush push?
Because it stinks and it's boring and no one likes it. But, I mean, I understand why the Eagles like it and they want to defend it and their fans want to defend it. But my biggest frustration with it is I want to see football players play. Like, the opportunity cost of Saquon Barkley not having the ball or a fade to A.J. Brown is I get to see a bunch of guys push each other. That kind of stinks.
Whoa.
Whoa.
You just struggled with that word the way that Tom Brady struggled with Kareem Hunt.
Yeah. You should go faster. What do you make of all the overhead camera angles that make it look like the Eagles are cheating on every tush push with every single offensive lineman lining up offside?
You're right. They are. But you ain't cheating, you ain't trying, I guess, right? That's what they say. And I like what I like, man. I'm sorry that sometime I had a Freudian slip.
Thoughts on Travis Hunter so far?
Yeah, it's a complicated situation over there. He's still an incredible athlete. Obviously, I see it out there. I don't like the way that they're using him. It seems as if a player with that frame is not someone that you want to get short passes over the middle of the field, but it feels like that's what they do with him offensively. And defensively, like, he just needs more and more reps. He's obviously comfortable over there. He's going to be fine.
Chiefs at Giants on Sunday night. Any way the Chiefs fall to 0-3?
I mean, it's possible. I was on Dan Patrick the other day, and he said it, and it blew my mind because I never considered it as a possibility. But we saw what happened last night. It was a very winnable game for the Dolphins. The talent differential is so close. But I have a hard time thinking it'll be a blowout, and I'll have an even harder time picking Russell Wilson in a close game over Patrick Mahomes. So I don't really see the path to a win. It's just neighbors going absolutely nuclear is the only way they could win that game.
The Dominique Foxworth Show with Charlie Kravitz. He does a preview episode.
With Charlie? He don't got no damn with. What are we doing? That's a producer who I gave a microphone with Charlie Kravitz. Get that man's name off my show, Dan.
The Dominique Foxworth Show with Charlie Kravitz does a preview episode every Friday this season with Mina Kimes, a recap episode every Monday with Bill Barnwell, and sources have informed me that on your show you had the opposite Vikings take. You said they'd look better with Wentz, and you're being accused of being Stugotz.
Oh, yeah, you got to mix it up, man. You got to put a little seed here, a little seed there. But it's okay to change your mind. Like, I learned from the great Mike Ryan is when you were wrong, and it's okay to admit that you were wrong. I was wrong yesterday, and now I'm right.
What's the conversation around the Bears if they fall to 0-3? They're hosting Dallas this weekend.
Yeah, the only conversation is going to be around Caleb's development. I think that's the thing that matters the most. And it depends how they fall to 0-3. If they still have difficulty running the ball, I think the conversation is going to be about addressing that position. But the defense, I think, is pretty bad right now. And the way they want to play, they need a dominant defensive line, and they don't have that.
Does that Monday night performance say more about the Chargers defense or Geno Smith? Because that was very confusing.
The Chargers defense is great. It's another team that they like to play a lot of quarters, which allows the safeties to get in the run game. they surprisingly give up a lot, or not a lot, but more explosive plays than you would expect for a good defense. But I think that's the most important part. They're going to be a contender. I don't think anyone thought or thinks the Raiders are going to be, so I find the Chargers far more interesting.
Will the Dolphins have a top 5 pick in the draft?
Yeah.
Do you agree with Zaslow and Colin Cowherd that Jim Harbaugh is an all-time great already, or in Colin Cowherd's case, that he's the best football coach there's ever been if you include college and pros and exclude Pete Carroll?
No. I do not agree with that beluga-ass take. It's a lot of head with a lot of brain and a really weak-ass take. I mean, it's sad that Colin Cowherd stole it from you.
Yes.
That was good for you to come up with. He did steal
Pathetic.
it, so it's an interesting discussion, but like an all-time great? Let's stop it, man.
Outside of the Green Bay Packers, which Kraft got hurt yesterday in practice too, so they're doing their annual thing of getting really banged up here. Outside of the Green Bay Packers, though, who is the team the Philadelphia Eagles want to see the least?
Well, I mean, I assume you're talking about in the NFC because
in the NFC.
Yeah.
Because there is one team down south that has our number.
Yeah, I mean, the Bucs, I think, is the right answer to that question. The Bucs are the team that they probably are. They beat them in the playoffs a couple years ago, and they don't even have, to your point you made earlier, they don't even have their best offensive lineman in Tristan Wirfs. They're moving people around and making the best of it. I think that defense is going to get better as the season goes along, and they're already pretty good. So I think that's probably the team that – actually, nope, take it back, Rams.
That'll
Have you
play
guys
out this
seen what
weekend.
Matt Stafford is doing?
He's, for the record, he is the top-rated quarterback according to PFF.
The throws that he's making, like it's incredible. There's no defense for a perfect throw, and he's made like 10, like not just perfect throws, like impossibly perfect throws so far this season. And they have the personnel on defense, I think, to give the Eagles some trouble. So we'll see this weekend.
Joined our good friend Dave Damashek on Football America this week, and we had a debate, greatest number 9 in NFL history. Now, we agreed that it's Drew Brees, but if Matthew Stafford gets another Super Bowl, does it become Matthew Stafford?
Ooh. I mean, I laughed at Dan Orlovsky when he said that Matthew Stafford was in the Hall of Fame after he won the Super Bowl, but he might get in there eventually because of the way that he continues to play. Yeah, I don't know. Sure. He can have it.
Or
Drew
are you
Brees,
a Sonny Jurgensen guy?
Nah, I'm Rodney Peete. Give me Rodney Peete.
What's real and what's not real on Daniel Jones?
I think it's all real. Like I think it's a lot of help. Like I think Daniel Jones is a serviceable quarterback, and there are a number of quarterbacks that I think that are around the middle of the league as far as talent is concerned, and in the right situation will have a lot of success. Of course, there are going to be some bad games. Like I feel like it's a very Sam Darnold-like situation where it's like in the right situation, which they have a good offensive line. That dude Warren, he's incredible as far as athleticism is concerned at tight end, and they have skilled players, and Taylor's running the ball well. So I think it's more about the situation. I don't think that Daniel Jones was ever like just terrible. He just was mediocre in a bad situation. Now he's mediocre in a good situation, which makes him good.
You're not terribly surprised by that because you thought the Colts would indeed be good. What has surprised you the most this season?
Ooh, surprised me the most. I mean, the week 1 ridiculous game and the Bills was like shocking in that moment. That surprised me. I think this sounds silly because I know how you feel about this, Dan, but I am a little surprised that the Chiefs' offense is still as like pedestrian as it is, especially with Josh Simmons playing that tackle spot as well as he planned, because I thought that was the problem. I thought Patrick Mahomes, if you could protect him, and the protection elsewhere is not perfect, but if you could protect him with a solid left tackle, then he'll be able to make other things happen. But I think the connection that Patrick relies on with his receivers down the field, that's been off. He hasn't had that. You see sometimes people are open and he'll throw it to a spot and they are like a couple steps off, and it seems like even with Travis Kelce has happened a couple times. So that's weird. And then watching Patrick Mahomes try to run people over, it's like, does he just want to get hurt so he doesn't have to deal with this season anymore? He's just 3 times in the first 2 weeks, he put his shoulder down and ran people over in unnecessary situations.
I think you guys are framing me unfairly as it regards the Chiefs. He's just been a dink and dunk quarterback because of circumstances. It's not because he's not good.
I think we actually helped you find that because of circumstances, Lion. And I shall remind you that a phrase that was uttered on this show earlier today was they made Josh Allen do that Patrick Mahomes thing. You just like knocked the two best quarterbacks in the league.
Because Allen attempted only one pass over 10 air yards yesterday.
I can't with this guy. Patrick Mahomes is great, and so is Josh Allen.
But I don't think so. When you say that Patrick Mahomes thing, so I was with you. I don't think I was mischaracterizing what you were saying. I agree with some of the things that you were saying. But when you say that Patrick Mahomes thing, the thing I identify with Patrick Mahomes is not dinking and dunking. If anyone ever says you're doing that Patrick Mahomes thing, I'm going to say thank you. I'm not going to be like, huh?
The last 2 years, he's been someone who throws underneath by design because that's what the defenses are doing and that's what the limitations of the offense are. And that's what happened to Josh Allen last night. Like, Josh Allen was not throwing the ball down the field. He wasn't.
All right, I can't wait till you have a sit down with Mike and you also learn to admit when you're wrong and back off of it.
The Dominique Foxworth Show with Charlie Kravitz. Episodes Friday with Mina Kimes and every Monday with Bill Barnwell. If you have an absence of Miami racism in your life, that is a good spot for it. The Dominique Foxworth Show. See you later, Dominique. Good seeing you.
Bye.
Hi and hello, my fellow football Americans. Coming up on the new episode of Football America, we're getting into Tom Brady wearing that headset. MVP chase just 2 weeks in. Can Patrick Mahomes and company finally get on track? Plus, Nick Costos is in to help break down the biggest games of the week. Those include the Rams paying a visit to the world champs in Philadelphia, Lions and Ravens. Ooh, bloodbath on Monday Night Football. All the rest of those games. Plus, we introduce our uniform conversation with Mike Ryan. It has a new name and everything. Be there for all the fun on Football American. Or I guess you can be unpatriotic.
The Dan Le Batard Show is sponsored by Liquid IV. Don't let the grind drain you. Ditch the glitch with zero sugar and zero crash from Liquid IV. Tear, pour, live more. Go to liquidiv.com and get 20% off your first order with code DAN at checkout. That's 20% off your first order with code DAN at liquidiv.com. It's energy that hits different, balanced, steady, and smooth. Thanks to L-theanine and caffeine, zero sugar, 3 times the electrolytes of leading sports drink, plus 5 essential vitamins, 2 refreshing flavors, strawberry kiwi and blackberry lemonade. Liquid IV, tear, pour, mix, and you're good.
I found encouraging and somewhat hopeful that even though our country is divided in ways that feel just more turbulent than much of anything that I could remember in my lifetime, that what happened with Jimmy Kimmel seemed to land on a core principle for Americans that didn't exactly create as much debate as it did outrage. And given how skewed things politically are, I was encouraged, because there are all manner of horrors happening all over the globe, that many Americans were indignant as Americans that that would happen to Jimmy Kimmel, and that somebody wouldn't stand up to power when faced with something that didn't feel like it had a lot of precedent. So late night television last night did a good job. Jon Stewart and Colbert. Jimmy Fallon can't keep up in this space. He's not as good at these things as some of the others are. But part of the reasons late night, beyond the ratings, is under duress is because largely late night has run left and run liberal. And we've always accepted that comedians, even though the one you liked, like Johnny Carson, who was benign and you allowed in your living room, or Jay Leno, make fun of power. That's a thing in this country that people care about. So David Letterman is, to me, the godfather of all of this stuff. I liked him a lot more than Johnny Carson because he was different than Johnny Carson. And he's the first person I ever saw on television criticize his employer and have the power to criticize his employer on the platform that the employer gave him. So I loved what David Letterman introduced me to when I was in college and I was watching late at night something that felt forbidden. I couldn't believe what it is that I was seeing. So Letterman was asked about what happened here with Jimmy Kimmel when he was on a panel, and he had a couple of things to say about it. And keep in mind, a lot of people are still running scared. They don't know what to say, because when you see that happen to Jimmy Kimmel, you no longer know where the lines are. You can't see that happen with Jimmy Kimmel and think you're living in the same time that you lived in moments ago, because what that was benign compared to other criticisms I've seen from Jimmy Kimmel and others.
I'm also not really willing to entertain talking about government censorship as if it's a thing that is going to happen when it just happened. We're there, we're here. The alarm bells that were sounded months ago, it's led up to this. It was all forecasted. You see the FCC chair who wrote Project 25 reveling in it. You're here.
I did find interesting, though, that Americans, whatever their political leanings, if we polled them right now, they would identify it as censorship and would object in this country to the idea of censorship. I told you yesterday that coming from communism, I had my family, all they got in Cuba was a government newspaper that they knew was lying to them, that they knew that it was propaganda, and I'm not comfortable seeing this happen right now in America.
And if I may, I'm totally fine with ABC if their executives got together and said, we need to suspend Jimmy Kimmel. I think there's confusion as to what he actually said, but that's on him for opening the door. It's a sensitive time. It's open to interpretation. And if they heard from affiliates and if this was all on the up and up and they decided to pull him, there are absolutely consequences for things that you say. The problem here is the very clear government interference for many people.
That feels un-American, and there is still more reporting to be done on this, because I'm seeing reporting and I don't know what's true anymore, and this is part of what's happening with the media and the information where you just don't know what's true sometimes. I'm seeing reports that Kimmel was asked to apologize to Kirk's family and a variety of things. And I just want to see more reporting so I can find out what is true here. But I want to get this sound from Letterman because he's the first one I ever saw have a freedom as a court jester that I didn't think the court jesters had.
Tell us what you think about what happened last night to Jimmy Kimmel.
Well, this is misery. And in the world of somebody who is an authoritarian, maybe a dictatorship, sooner or later, everyone is going to be touched. But this is me. For 30 years, I did this for a living. So I see this happen. They took care of Colbert. That was rude. That was inexcusable. The man deserves a great deal of credit. He's in the Hall of Fame 9 times. And to be manipulated like that because the Ellison family didn't want to trouble Donald Trump with this move, so they got rid of him. Not only got rid of him, got rid of the whole franchise. You're not going to have to worry about anything, Larry. It's all gone. It's fine. Good night. And then my good friend Jimmy Kimmel. I feel bad about this because we all see where this is going, correct? It's managed media, and it's no good. It's silly. It's ridiculous, and you can't go around firing somebody because you're fearful or trying to suck up to an authoritarian criminal administration in the Oval Office. That's just not how this works.
Let me hear the other sound from Letterman as well about how he did this. That was a franchise that he lorded over that just ended 33 years of late-night television that Colbert inherited. Let's hear Letterman's other thoughts.
Jimmy Carter, Ronald Reagan, George Bush Sr., Bill Clinton, George Bush II, Barack Obama. Yeah.
All right.
And attack these men mercilessly, never once. Well, Jimmy Carter, not so much, because what can you say about Jimmy Carter? He was just a sweet guy. But everybody else, we really went to work on. And I can remember Bill Clinton we really went to work on, and then it was like, whoa, this is a gift. What are we going to do? Bill Clinton, he's out of office after 8 years of Bill Clinton. And then George Bush came along, and it was easy motoring after that. But the point is, beating up on these people, rightly or wrongly, accurately or perhaps inaccurately, in the name of comedy, not once were we squeezed by anyone from any governmental agency, let alone the dreaded FCC.
So yesterday I was talking about the dangers in weaponizing federal institutions to do things like censor. And one of the things I said by going after the head of Disney is get off your knees and stand for something. If you have power, and money, use power and money. But the thing I wanted to ask you guys is, if you're in the position of running Disney and the argument from the leader of Disney is, I got to protect the company and I got to protect the money. That's my job. I'm asking you to go outside of your job and have some conviction beyond the felonious ones than the President of the United States has on the resume in terms of conviction. I'm requesting something of you that isn't technically part of the job, right? The job is to protect the money, yes? Like, even that the money is more important than freedom, correct? The business, the job as he has it, and this is his identity. Bob Iger, there were reports he was going to run for president of the United States, that he got so popular and got so strong and was so benign as a public figure. Is it an unfair request for me to say, get off your knees and stand for something?
But they need that NFL merger to go through. There's an antitrust situation here that the Department of Justice needs to take a little look-see at. So if you're Bob Iger and you're getting pressure from the FCC knowing that you got this other merger going on, what do? They're all exposed, and that's because what was in the 1970s where there were 90 media companies and it was spread across many different, you basically have 5 people, 5 companies, 5 entities owning all of media now.
But I'm asking you guys, what is the job and responsibility of the person running Disney in this circumstance when the affiliates are coming after a treasured employee, an employee
to protect their mergers?
To protect everything, to protect all of the money. Like, obviously, this is all a follow the money situation, and you just mentioned that's a giant merger. Disney has been in trouble here for a while because they have not been able quite to keep up with the changes. Disney is in a worse position than it has been, but getting the NFL and giving the NFL 10% of ESPN is a move of both smart and desperate.
Yeah, it's a difficult position that Bob Iger's in. I think we'd all concede that, and we'd all like for him to do the right thing. I used to work for Disney and not crazy about ESPN. It's an impossible situation that they are, and I'd say it's BS that the onus to uphold the First Amendment is on them and not the federal government. And if I were them, I'd go on the offensive and say, how is this our call? Why are we pressured to make this call? This is a constitutionally protected right. And I'd really amplify and turn up the heat on what's going on right now with the federal government, because while they're all playing ball and protecting their interests, and yeah, that's sleazy, we're talking about the U.S. Constitution. We're talking about something that is associated with America. It is a fundamental principle. And when that government is actually applying the pressure to the private sector, therein lies the issue. That is un-American.
Except that Rupert Murdoch doesn't seem to lack the stomach for this particular fight. Does he have?
He's got so many interests, though. And you could say he's got the one Epstein reporting situation over here that has had a lawsuit discussed, but he's also got plenty of other interests that have been willing and able partners of the current administration.
So you guys don't expect anyone to stand up to the power here because of how compromised everyone is, because their leverage, if you're in a position where you have less power, as everyone does, than the federal government that's not interested in what was previous precedent or previous rules, if you've got less power, you have to bow because you still have plenty of power, but you're always going to have less than this entity. You're always going to have less power than the state.
They're threatening to remove licenses. This is what Donald Trump said this to a pool of reporters on Air Force One yesterday. These networks, they have evening news. They criticize me. They have licenses. They can't do that. This is something that he said.
So you have to back down from that fight. You have to protect the money. You cannot stand for anything outside of protecting the money.
Dan, I think I gave you a playbook. You're in a difficult spot. So you turn it right back around on the federal government and make this a First Amendment issue.
Yeah, Paramount couldn't even stand up for the news division at CBS News. I mean, 60 Minutes and what happened there. I don't expect them to. They're going to end up bowing down to this, man, and it's very unfortunate.
Okay, so you bow down though, but you bow down without explanation. You don't even explain any of it to us. You don't even come out and say that. You don't explain to us in your voice that, hey, I can't do anything here. You have to no comment. You have to sit it out. You have to just keep paying the extortionist.
I think. Well, we don't know what the game plan is here. This was a joke that was told on Monday, right?
Well, we do know there's been silence in the explanation. That we know.
Right.
We know that we're all confused, and in the absence of an explanation, everyone is putting their own explanation in there.
So I've seen reporting done on this that Jimmy Kimmel and ABC, they got together. Everybody acted super professionally. Emotions were not running high here. They were all trying to find what is obviously a very complicated solution to all this. There were reports that ABC is hopeful that Jimmy Kimmel and his show, remember, there is an entire employee base here that is also suspended right now looking for answers. They are working towards a path to getting back to air. And I think the absence of a quote is probably better than a quote that lands on the wrong side that shows that you're kowtowing to the current administration.
Oh, but why can't you explain to me why, and this is the specific lack of spine that I find everywhere around corporations that I expect to have some spine. Can you not come out and say, Jimmy Kimmel has been suspended indefinitely, but it's not because of anything that he said. It's because we're under duress from the federal government on our licenses, and we've suspended him indefinitely to protect him and this show and our merger. Can you be honest? Can instead of no commenting and hiding in the shadows and making it look like you're doing the weakest possible thing, can you offer us something in the way of an explanation, or you just have to hide from the bully?
I'm sure that there is an explanation that they can give you that is more nuanced than just hide from the bully. But, I mean, we were at Disney when they were impacted by, MAGA boycotts and ESPN is too woke. We've seen that sea change. We've seen it benefit these companies as some of those stances soften. And this is an emotional time with what happened to Charlie Kirk being terrible and all, and that seemingly being the catalyst.
What
to where
happened
we
to
are
him
now.
being terrible.
Yeah.
And also, you have to be careful about how you're saying that some of what he said, much of what he said, was also terrible, because posthumously he leaves. He's more useful. He is more useful to MAGA this way.
I mean, it's proven to be a catalyst to go in a certain direction that was forecasted in Project 25. So they've made no bones about how they try to use the FCC to influence certain things, and fighting back essentially has kind of been the stance, using this opportunity, as tragic as it is, to go at enemies and go at enemies of what they view as their movement is certainly something that they're seizing on. It's a very complicated thing. There's dollars and cents. They're a publicly traded company. They have this incredibly important merger that I'm sure internally they might be hinging their very survival on. So I don't know exactly how you handle it. I know how I think I would handle it, but I don't have all the data available to me. The problem here is that they're facing this crossroads. The problem is that they have to weigh, what does it mean if we try to protect our First Amendment rights? What does this mean for our merger? Because we know if we come out harshly on one side, we're not going to get this merger cleared because they're going to hold that against us. Therein lies the issue. Everyone understands the tricky position that they're in, and they shouldn't be in this tricky position because the FCC and the DOJ shouldn't be weaponized the way that they are. Tone, I will calm down.
Agreed, but I just would like somebody, if you're not going to fight publicly, at the very least, how about you whimper some form of your truth instead of just being quiet because you don't want, in these emotional times, to fall on the wrong side of anybody.
I'll push back there. People aren't being quiet. Did you watch what happened on late night? Like Stephen Colbert is still doing shows.
Oh, I'm not talking.
Jon Stewart is owned by Paramount. Jimmy Fallon did have a go. Everybody carefully, everybody smartly, everybody parroting what the situation that we now find ourselves in. But people are speaking out.
I'm not talking about the people who are speaking out who are not responsible for this decision. I'm talking about somebody tell me what happened here, who made the decision in your voice with your name on it, so we have a better understanding. And it's not left to the people at the other networks to do the fighting for you because you can't do it for yourself. I just want a modicum of truth or explanation from some of the principles, given that in sports, somebody makes a mistake in a game and we've got a microphone in front of their face right afterward, and they're not allowed to no comment. They're not allowed to not be accountable about what just happened out there. Like, you can't do this stuff in the shadows and expect a public who wants information and doesn't trust the information it's getting with your truth.
Yeah, but that athlete doesn't have to worry about being sued for $15 billion like the New York Times is right now.
It's just an awfully convenient place for us to say, like, ABC needs to do more, when to me there's a very obvious wrong thing here that should unite, and I'm actually encouraged by how it has united, because there are plenty. Again, Charlie Kirk is a martyr for some, but he's a martyr for many who are free speech advocates. And this encapsulates both Dems, heck, independents, and MAGA conservative Republicans. They all benefit from our First Amendment rights.
You're saying, and I don't know if I should agree with this, because I know this is the corporate model to no comment. You do not speak in your voice as a corporation. There are very few corporations like Ben and Jerry's that you don't know what corporations actually stand for, because most of them just stand for money and nothing else. How to get more money, what do we have to do to get more money? But you're saying it's made worse by simply laying out for people, either in a quote or by answering questions. Here's what happened and why. Here is the truth from our perspective.
I think right now there are a couple important things at play, and we'd be foolish to not say that they are certainly considering their own important mergers and their affiliates' potential mergers. But also, if I'm Bob Iger, if I'm ABC, if I'm Disney, I also work towards a solution that gets Jimmy Kimmel back on the air as quickly as possible so he can speak for himself on this matter because he's the one that is presently being silenced. So while I'm not possibly appeasing Dan Le Batard and many others that want stronger leadership, I think that this is a situation that calls for tact, and my objective is letting the person that is presently banned from taking the air get back to air, and I game plan with my executives, and I go about the right way of doing that.
The part that we disagree on, though, is you're saying it's a time for tact, and I'm saying it's not a time for silence. It's not a time for silence. And you're saying, yeah, you got to be careful. And I'm like, no, he's already bullying everybody and taking their money. He's already doing that. So you keep backpedaling and you keep going, let me be polite here and let me do tact. And you never say anything to us in your voice. Maybe you're right. Maybe it's better to just have people argue about the silence and then Jimmy Kimmel becomes his own kind of symbol because it feels like he's a victim.
Look, I've been in situations like this with this show for that company, even independent, where there are certain things that we're just not going to talk about. And they're tough decisions. And I don't know, I've certainly not experienced anything to this level. So I think it's very convenient for me to be a critic and say not enough is being done here. But I certainly know a tricky spot. I've been in a pickle before, Zaz.
My movie theater sells pickles.
And I will say.
How much?
It's $2.99. Decent deal.
I will say that while I enjoy the conversation, the only thing that you've done today on a Football Friday as it pertains to the college game day biggest game of the weekend is talk about a 20-year-old murder, and that is a failure on your part.
Do you want me to talk about how the University of Miami has raised enough donations to build Vinny Testaverde and Gino Torretta statues?
I would tell you they better keep a spot open there for Mr. Beck.
How about Cam Ward?
Cam Ward didn't get a Heisman. These are just the Heisman winners of the program.
You want to go look at Gino Torretta's stats from his Heisman season?
I know, it's laughable. They played a different sport back then.
Go ahead and get Zaz the
I mean, because
stats.
growing up, like Gino Torretta, I remember growing up and watching Gino. It's like, oh my God, these numbers are amazing. If I were to see those numbers now, it's going to make me sad.
Go ahead, Mike. I think it was 19 touchdowns in the season. So you've got
different sport.
I think it was, and he had pros everywhere. Like I believe. Hold on a second. I believe the receivers on one of his teams, do I have this right? I might be conflating errors. I think it was Brian Blades, Brett Perriman, and Michael Irvin as one set of receivers in the huddle. I think that's the team that lost to Penn State. The one that had...
Wasn't that Testaverde?
I think
Testaverde had
Testaverde
5
lost
interceptions
to Penn State.
Okay, so I am conflating
Torretta had Lamar
errors.
Thomas and Copeland.
Okay, I am conflating errors. Okay, so both of them got a lot of help, but Vinny Testaverde's numbers were much better than Gino Torretta's. Good. Give Zaz Gino Torretta's numbers so he can see what it is that won the Heisman that year.
I mean, for the younger Canes fan, Gino Torretta was so good. I remember, and I'm afraid now that you're about to make me
He wasn't
sad.
as good as you remember, and neither was Ken Dorsey.
A 56% completion percentage. I think Carson Beck presently is in the 80s. Just 60 yards over 3,000 passing yards. Just got over that line. 19 touchdowns.
Per season.
19 touchdowns, 7 interceptions.
Only 19 touchdowns?
That was his 1992 Heisman Trophy winning season.
Mike, go ahead and look at that schedule, too, so that you can see who...
he went through Marshall Faulk.
Go ahead and look at who he was beating on those 19 touchdowns, so you see...
a lot of Rutgers there, a lot of Temple there.
Not a lot, but...
A lot of UConn.
Enough for you to wonder why there aren't some 4 and 5 touchdown games in there, because there aren't any if you had only 19 in a season. 19.
Who else were the Heisman candidates against him that year?
So I'm glad that you asked. I actually have that available to me. Garrison Hurst, the aforementioned Marshall
good.
Faulk,
Yep.
and believe it or not, I did not know this because I was just a youngin'. Desmond Howard did return to college football the year after he won the Heisman.
Really?
And he lost out to Gino Torretta.
Man, I don't like what you just did. I don't like that.
You just put it into perspective. They were playing a different sport.
Honestly, if you didn't give me any of that information, you said Zaslow, Gino Torretta, a quarterback of your Canes childhood, how many touchdowns do you think he threw in his Heisman year? I would have said 40.
I sent Mike Ryan a text the other day because he was making fun of me for saying that Rex Grossman dragged those Chicago Bears to the Super Bowl, that compared Troy Aikman's best season and Rex Grossman's best season, and they were basically the same because of how different the sport became, where Troy Aikman, whatever you remember or think of Troy Aikman.
I mean, what, did he throw over 20 touchdowns once, maybe?
One time. This one season, he had a Rex Grossman season where he had 23 touchdowns. And that was the best season that Troy Aikman
Got
ever
Michael
had.
Irvin, Alvin Harper.
I did appreciate the stroll down memory lane, but again, we've talked about something that happened 20 years ago and now 30 years ago when Miami has its best team in 20 years playing Saturday night against a hated rival. College Game Day has decided this is the story they want to tell, and the most impactful transaction in South Florida sports history is going to be out there on that stage.
I'm broadcasting from the stadium tomorrow.
You're going to be broadcasting early. The gates open at 2:30.
I know.
I don't think you're going to be setting up a scene there. The scene's going to be on campus, where Matthew Tkachuk and Pat McAfee will undoubtedly do something that goes viral. Because now that you don't have a mascot head, it's basically all about who's going to be the guest picker and can they make a moment. I trust Matthew Tkachuk in this spot.
I got tricked yesterday. You guys will find this funny because I'm watching the game on Amazon Prime, and I was confused because it had gotten dark outside, and I was still watching Ryan Fitzpatrick sort of interact with Bills' audience and do a Ryan Fitzpatrick lookalike contest with Bills fans. And I didn't realize that because I was streaming it, Amazon had taken me to the beginning of the broadcast when I was expecting. So I didn't realize.
Midway through the second quarter, you fast forward.
I wasn't paying attention.
When's this game starting?
That's what happened. It was dark.
Weather delay?
It was dark outside, and I'm like, why are they still doing wacky things with the fans when I feel like the game should have started by now? And it's just because I went to the broadcast and I hit play, and it just took me to the beginning of the broadcast, even though they were already an hour into the broadcast. The game last night, Amazon is doing an amazing job with all of this. For all the criticism Al Michaels got for feeling or sounding bored in his 80s, it still sounds and looks huge, and I really am amazed that no one has much of any complaints on this transition to Amazon Prime and streaming. They are doing a broadcast that is giant, and they're doing it without complaints or mistakes that I'm seeing.
So, murder 20 years ago, team of 30 years ago, back to last night's game.
I don't preview games.
We still don't know why Zaz was sad that the Dolphins were tied. And he's refusing to tell us because he forgot.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, he forgot
You'll
again.
find
Are you
it.
okay? You want to go to a neurologist or something?
Like I
what's
said, it's
happening
been
here?
people lose their train of thought sometimes. How do you go to a neurologist?
I'm worried about you. I'm saying this as a
listen,
friend.
Listen, you don't even, all of this right here, this doesn't need your concern.
Okay.
Dan, you don't preview games. You weren't exactly previewing Buffalo, Miami, but you talk plenty Miami entering that big game. There's plenty state of the program stuff that you can do with the University of Florida, which seems to have their own Waterloo situation, and the University of Miami that has about 80 blue chips in attendance for this and 11 of the top 20 wide receiver prospects as things are a-clicking for Mario Cristobal in year 4.
Or I could talk about Indiana, Illinois, and I don't believe that you guys would want to do that because it's a preview.
Name a player. Name a player in either of those two programs. Name a player. Name a player. That's right. We turn our attention to DJ Lagway and the disastrous Florida Gator program. 4 of those 5 interceptions that DJ Lagway threw against LSU were with good protection. He seems broken. He seems heavy. He seems like he doesn't trust his body. He seems hurt. Billy Napier seems in over his head. And here come...
Minor penalty, 2 minutes, murdering the show with their bare hands in a dismemberment kit in cold blood.
In case anyone's wondering, Mike is very much still alive. Someone investigates the murdering of the show. Can't be like that story you were talking about before where they just knocked on the door and thought that guy was dead. Mike's alive. I saw him.
Yeah.
Everyone knows if you're looking for someone, you can't find them, they're dead.
It's crazy, right?
It's a little odd. Like, has anyone checked on Chris Cody? He's not here, eh?
Must be. Damn. I wonder if anyone told his wife.
Florida football is going to swallow Billy Napier right now? Like, did that line stay where it is that it started at 7.5?
Looks like it's 9.5 right now.
So a lot of people thought that the Bills-Dolphins line was going to go up above 12.5, and the money went the other way because the NFL is going to NFL, and then all of a sudden the line at the start of the game became 11.5 points.
Someone said that was free money last night. I don't know who.
Yes, you were wrong about that. You also have said, though, that Miami over the Gators is free money, and that went from 7.5 to 9.5.
Well, so I would probably be right about that then. The money is telling us that.
It seems weird, right? So you tell me what you made, Zaslow, as a college football expert.
Yeah.
What did you make of the Florida LSU game where Florida's defense is good? Florida's defense is
Very good.
Obviously good.
Very good.
Florida's defense, couldn't overcome 5 turnovers, but if you're on the road at night at LSU,
Tough place to play.
But that game shouldn't be close if your quarterback, like if you would.
I don't know how good LSU is. I really don't, because I don't know how. I'm doing some transitive theory here, but I don't know how good Clemson is. And LSU barely got past a Clemson team that, of course, lost this past week, and the week before that barely got by Troy. So I don't know how good LSU is. I feel like they should have been they should have won that game by more than the 10 points. Man, I think the Canes are going to take it to them tomorrow night. I think it's going to be really ugly for DJ Lagway. He might stink. I don't know. He might stink. I think it's going to be ugly for Lagway. I think it's going to be ugly for the Gators. I think tomorrow's going to be a lot of fun for the Canes fan.
You've been mentioning that, and yet I am confused by the way that Florida was able to, whether LSU is good or not, 5 turnovers on the road, that is not something that should result in the opposing team only scoring 20 points.
Right.
But your quarterback throwing 5 interceptions. It's not just 5 interceptions, because when the hell do you see that anymore? The only guy who does that in the pros is Trey Lance. I guess Jared Goff did it once, but it doesn't happen very often that you see 5 interceptions. But it wasn't just 5 interceptions. It was 5 interceptions where you weren't asking LSU to make a play. Those were 5 super easy interceptions because he was making very bad decisions with fluttering butterfly balls.
Yep, throwing off of his back foot, too. And, we're talking double and triple coverage. Hell, at the end of the first half, I think the game was still tied late in the first half. And it was literally just, don't turn the ball over here. And he threw an interception at the end of the first half, which I think LSU then capitalized the field goal on. Just really terrible decisions, yeah.
Are you excited about something more than that game this weekend?
Well, WrestlePalooza tomorrow night. Come on now, Mike. You know what I'm talking about? But no, Gators and Canes I'm most excited about. I think just all day it's going to be. I'm going to be there all day. I might have to go to sleep a little bit early tonight, Dan, because I want to make sure I have my energy tomorrow. Because I'm broadcasting 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. tomorrow, right there, fan zone at Hard Rock Stadium. Now, granted, the gates are not going to be open yet.
How can you call it a fan zone with no fans?
Yeah, granted, I can't control what time my show is on ESPN Radio and what time the game is, all right? But we're going to be broadcasting probably no one inside the stadium grounds because they don't open until after we get done. But we do a live digital show before the game. There'll be a lot of people for that. So I hope people come and see us. We're going to be at Fan Zone. Big Airstream studio. You'll be able to see us. I'm very much looking forward to it.
But can they get to you? It sounds like Fan Zone
when the gates open.
Yeah, but are there going to be people there at the time that you were
for the
there?
6 o'clock show?
For the digital show. That's where you could see this face, all right? I'm going to be on camera.
I love that punum.
Thanks, man. I appreciate it.
You got a good puss.
There's a good puss right here. Yes, I'll be on camera for that. People will all be around me. We're going to do man on the street stuff, too, walking around throughout the day also.
That you're going to be gathering while no one is there in the parking lot.
No, people are going to get in when they get in, and we're going to do stuff, all right?
Well, if you want to get into the gates for a big NFL game or perhaps that game that we're talking about right there, you only have one option as far as I'm concerned to take the guesswork out of buying NFL tickets. You do so by downloading the Game Time app. You create an account, and you use code Dan on your first purchase, and you get $20 off. Terms apply. Swipe, tap, ticket, go. Flash deals, zone deals, panoramic seat views, and unparalleled ticket coverage. Game Time.
You mentioned WrestlePalooza. Aren't there issues going on with how fans are going to get this?
Yes, there are.
And what's going to happen here? Do we know? Is there going to be something that gets decided?
It's not going to be fixed before WrestlePalooza.
I mean, it would appear the people, is it YouTube TV?
YouTube TV, I think Xfinity
a couple of them.
I have both of those things, so I'm presently shut out, but it's all right. I'll be at the game of the week.
So someone like Mike, who isn't getting access to the new ESPN digital app, which has WrestlePalooza tomorrow night, you then have to pay $30, for the month to watch WrestlePalooza. Like, you have to buy the app on its own. So those people
That's bad.
Yeah, it's not ideal for
That's
those
bad.
people.
And this just seems to be a continuing trend where TKO, who has assumed ownership from Vince McMahon and control,
they stink.
It hasn't been fun for fans. They just awarded Saudi Arabia WrestleMania 43.
I hate that.
After back-to-back, I don't know if you've seen what's going on with the Las Vegas economy. Not exactly buzzing right now. They ripped away a WrestleMania from New Orleans and got more money and maximized the dollars, and everything, including comments from Mark Shapiro, is geared towards, we're going to make you pay more for tickets. It doesn't seem super fan-friendly.
Who would have known that Vince McMahon was looking out for the family?
He would run towns and house shows in towns knowing that it would lose money to keep fan interest alive. This is a big mistake, and it's going to come back to haunt them. I really do think, especially now when there's an alternative with money. Big mistake.
Tell you who loves money, Dan.
It's a bit flabbergasting. Everybody loves money. It's a bit flabbergasting to watch the customer bleeped again and again in sports.